Last artifact rules video. Hi everyone, it's Leasefile and welcome to this final artifact rules video. Today's program is a look at the other game modes and especially the other game modes in the confrontation phase. Because as you know, since the beginning of the game, we've been playing with the prestige points bonus mode, which is mostly called the classic mode. The aim is either to win victory points by shooting opponents or to shoot or collect prestige bonuses that arrive on the board. That's the basic mode. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the other game modes. And these game modes have little tokens that you place in your confrontation zone to say that this phase of confrontation will have this game mode. Here they are: race mode, shooting mode, collection mode, capture mode, evaluation mode, and above all, single player mode. But before I present these modes, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for watching these various artifact videos and for supporting the project all the way. The second thing I'd like to say is that Artifact is a game you can play as a team. The rule is simple. You add your prestige points to all the people in your team and you can't shoot each other in your team. Simple, clear and effective. Well, now for the home stretch, the game modes. The first new game mode is race mode. The idea of race mode is to make 4 flags appear in the arena through a positioning process. When we make these flags appear, if they fall adjacent to an artifact, we reposition them because otherwise it's too easy. And the players will have to recover as many as they can in one round. What does recovery mean? It means moving to an adjacent square. And the more you collect in a round, the more points you earn. 1 flag, 5 points. 2 flags, 10 points, 3 flags, 15 points, 4 flags, 30 points. So if you collect them all, that's a heck of a lot of points. Flags are indestructible, so don't shoot them. They're useless. In this game mode, you don't lose any hit points, but you still gain prestige points and therefore victory points when you shoot at your opponents. You do the damage as usual, it's just that you don't lose the physical damage and you get the prestige points accordingly. And you gain a minimum of 1 prestige point every time you attack someone. Flags are replaced with each new round. This game mode is quite simple. It's all about showing which machine is the most mobile, but since shooting is still present, you can still take advantage of it to shoot your opponents and score points. Next game mode. The next game mode is shooting mode, and shooting mode is the opposite of race mode. We're going to see which artifact has the most possibilities of shooting things. For this, we have 4 targets which we place on the arena using the usual positioning process. When these targets appear, if they're adjacent to an artifact, we reposition them like the flags, and a player during a round will have to shoot at the maximum. 1 target, 5 points, 2 targets, 10 points, 3 targets, 15 points, 4 targets, 30 points. Targets cannot be destroyed. Players shoot at each other, victory points are awarded. However, no HPs are lost and a minimum of 1 prestige point is awarded. And of course, the targets are replaced with each new round. And so, you can imagine that if an artifact is placed in front of a target, it will interfere with the shot since you can't shoot behind the artifact, except, of course, with the ballistic installation that allows it. A game mode that does the opposite of race mode, and it can be quite fun. Collection mode requires artifacts to pick up items placed more or less in the center of the arena and bring them back to their starting area. To do this, you'll place 4 orbs on the field using the positioning process at the start of the confrontation phase, and you won't do it again from one round to the next. And the idea is that players will have to stand adjacent to one of these orbs, spend an energy cube to place it on the heart, and this will allow them to take this orb on their artifact. After that, they'll have to move with it and place this orb, replacing an energy cube on their heart to place this orb in their starting zone. At the end of each round, you earn 10 victory points for each orb placed in your own starting zone. But above all, orbs also have another ability. If you ever shoot someone carrying an orb, they can place their orb on an adjacent cage to take 10 points of damage. As usual, you can take prestige points by shooting at opponents, so this allows you to take at least a little. But in this mode, if you manage to kill an opponent, you get 20 prestige points, which means 20 victory points. It's quite substantial, but that's precisely because the orbs defend us a little, so it makes up for it. A slightly more complex mode, but relatively simple nonetheless. The final battle mode is capture mode. In capture mode, we place these various elements on the board, on one of the squares adjacent to our starting zone, one per artifact color, and the aim is to collect the crystals from our opponents and bring them back to our starting zone. How does this work? Well, every time you shoot one of these crystals, every 10 points of damage inflicted on it will push it back one square. So if you do 40 points of damage, you push it back 4 squares. And if it goes against a wall, well, it'll bounce back the other way. So the aim is to bring these crystals back to your starting zone, and if you succeed, the crystal disappears and you immediately gain 30 prestige points. Quite a jackpot. And as usual, you can damage your opponents to earn victory points. So much for the various confrontation phase game modes, but there's a different game mode which also takes place in a confrontation phase, but which isn't actually a confrontation phase, evaluation mode. I don't know if you remember, because it's been quite a few videos now, I told you that Artifact was a game where you could play a management phase, a confrontation phase, and above all I told you that you could also play management phases. Well, that's thanks to evaluation mode. Evaluation mode uses these different cards. On these cards, there's often a module or elements, and whoever has the majority of this module or these elements, well, he'll win the maximum victory points of this evaluation card. For example, on this astrologer card, whoever has activated the astrologer the most will have 8 victory points, the second will have 4, the third will have 2. But how are we going to define these different evaluation criteria? Because there are quite a few. First, we'll distribute all the evaluation cards relevant to the game, i.e. the basic evaluation cards plus the modules we've added. We'll divide them up evenly between the players. Each player has the option of discarding one of the cards in his or her hand, and the remaining cards will be set aside for evaluation. We did this distribution during the first building phase. These conditions will be revealed in 3 different ways at the player's discretion. Either we reveal them directly during this first building phase, or they can be placed phase by phase, hidden phase by phase. And so, each time we reach a phase of the game, we reveal them. Or we reveal them all at the moment of the confrontation phase, and therefore at the moment of evaluation. This can have an impact on whether or not we know what to bet on. Do we know what we have to spend money on, what we have to do to win the most victory points? And this choice of revelation, either we do it as I've told you, as you wish, or if you're playing with the shadow, you can make a voting system. To refer to the shadow voting system, you can click here and watch the video where I explain the shadow. And during the confrontation phase, or rather the evaluation phase, we'll define who has the majority on one evaluation card or another. So that's the game's management mode, a mode that really requires you to give it your all during the management phases. These are the different modes that can be found in Artifact. But there's one mode left, and that's the game's famous single-player mode. In single-player mode, the preparation phases are a little different. Since there are no other players to block actions, we'll place ghost players to play on actions. They'll have this famous wheel that defines their turn. The solo player will move the tokens of the ghost artifactors either from alpha to beta or from beta to alpha. For example, if the 2 numbers are 4 and 5, he'll move in that direction, then that direction. And so it will block the different spaces on the board. You can play with 1 or more ghost players, the idea being to add more or less difficulty. So that's for the management phases, which will make them a little more complex. But for the confrontation phase, well, there's only one possible game mode, and that's automata mode. A mode in which you try to survive as best you can against the machines that attack you. Automatic machines, hence the name automaton. At the start of this automata phase, you'll make 4 automatons appear in the arena on their HP side, for they have 2 faces, a HP face and a HP face. You draw them at random. They have different colors, which is normal because they have a particular type. After placing them on the arena with the positioning process, as usual, you'll roll 1 die for each of these automaton and place it on the automaton. This will add power to the automaton. Next, a new tray is added. It's this rosette of difficulties. The solo player must place a marker on one of the 1 in the center of the rosette. This will increase the damage of certain automatons placed on the board. For example, if I place my marker on the red one, i.e. the fire one, the fire automaton will do more damage. What's their damage? It's 3 capacity damages, plus twice the elemental damage, plus the power of the automaton, i.e. the die you've placed on it. and automaton that are affected by the famous rosette of difficulties, in this case fire, don't get twice the elemental damage but 3 times the elemental damage. So it can sting, and so it's a survival mode in which you have to destroy as many machines as possible. A destroyed machine is worth 5 prestige points, and if you survive to the end, you'll get a bonus of 10 prestige points because you still have a certain number of rounds like in a normal game. So how does a round go? First round, you have your 4 automatons placed on the board. After that, you activate them. Automaton work like turrets, i.e., they have unlimited vertical and diagonal ranges. The first thing an artifact does at the start of a round is move. Their point of movement is the die face below the die they've been assigned, just as we do with the heart, and they'll position themselves as best they can until they have line of sight, and if they can, in front of the artifact's least protected flank. Then we'll roll a die to define their action. Rolling a 1 makes them attack once. So 3 dice, 2 times elemental damage, and the top number for power. You can defend yourself as usual. The 2 is that they make 2 attacks, 1 before your action and 1 after your actions. So if you've moved, the attack misses, so much the better. A 3 makes the automaton move a second time, still with the same movement value. On 4, you make a wall appear. And the wall you make appear is the one on top of the die you placed on the automaton. And this wall is placed adjacent to the automaton. 5 is the same. The number on the top of the dice creates a trap adjacent to the automaton. And on 6, you consolidate the automaton. To do this, you'll add a marker cube to the automaton. This will add 2 defense points, because to destroy an automaton, you need to surpass a certain value. And that value is 15 hit points for basic automaton, plus the number you've placed on the top of the die, plus the consolidation it has, so 2 per marker it has on it. So you're going to have to pull out all the stops if you want to destroy a machine. In the next round, instead of making 4 new automaton appear, you'll move the cube on the difficulty rows to one of the sides available to it. For example, I'm moving my marker to the square with a 2 and a pink background. What does this mean? It means that automaton with lightning elements will have this famous damage bonus. And the number indicates the number of automaton that will appear in this round. In this case, 2 automatons. And over the next few rounds, we'll need to add even more automatons. And above all, you can see that from number 2 to 3, there's a dot in the middle. Well, that means that 1 new automaton you add, 1 will be golden and will therefore be the other side with 20 HP. This makes them a little more resistant and above all, doubles their movement capacity. The result is a slightly stronger machine. And all this until you reach a value of 5 with 2 points. So 5, including 2 golden automatons. It can be extremely powerful, extremely complicated to manage in the arena, but that's what we like. And at the end of this phase of confrontation against the automatons, we'll look at how many prestige points you've earned and compare it with the value of your machine. Does machine value sound familiar? It's the points awarded by the different types of elements you have inside your machine. This was the case, for example, when you wanted to make a machine without a management phase. And so we compare the value of prestige points you've made with the value of your machine. You divide this value with the value of your machine. And if you have a value greater than 1, you can already say that you didn't do too badly. But the higher your value, the better. That's all for today. That's it for the artifact rules. That's all for this single player mode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's made you want to try out this single player artifact mode and the other confrontation game modes, or just the artifact management mode. Artifacts is coming soon to Kickstarter. See you next time. There may still be a few artifact videos left, but above all, I'll see you on the Kickstarter. You can still play the game on Tabletop Simulator in the meantime to see if you like it. See you next time. Until then, I say to you, see you.